Thursday, May 21st, 11:25 a.m. What's up, everybody? Got some good economic talking points for today over taxes. But first, we'll start off with a little trade management. So, last time we checked in, we were right here on, I want to say it was Tuesday. But we closed Datadog at minus 400, sadly. The trading action had been inching upwards, and it certainly felt strong into the close. And we were kind of discussing how certainly felt like it was going to pop, but if this does retrace or come back down, I expect it to be kind of swift. Like, I don't expect like a huge crash, but again, we had an entry price around 197. So this 210 to 200 level, I feel like if the 210 area gives, it goes to 200 pretty quickly. And so with our price average at 197 is what we had. But in this immediate short term, meaning the open of the next day, feeling like it was going to pop, we closed the position. Always makes sense to sell if you think it's going to go up. Always makes sense to cover, I guess, if you think it's going to go up. But for how long? And so we were kind of just discussing, right, the overall depreciation. We're not taking big positions, but wasn't even like that adverse. Obviously, we want to have green numbers on our screen, but we did kind of get that exact scenario, so I wanted to cover that a little bit. And so we had 24 shares, so another $4. We closed right around 215, and so another $4 again is another $100 of depreciation, but it comes right back down. And so we're kind of just floating again. 500 is kind of like the total risk I wanted to put into this trade. That kind of fluctuates with how the trade progresses. Not in our favor, but not like aggressively so. The overall trading action here does not feel convincing for an upward trend. And again, overall market conditions, I feel like we're due for some sort of downtrend specific to memory and specific to memory adjacent, which is what I see Datadog. Again, we have this war going, second half of the year, whatever. Again, disruption to the overall supply chain of energy is tremendous for all global economic output, highly forward-looking market. We've gone over those things, so I'm not going to sit here and restate all of them, but just highlighting the stimulus, the market conditions that I think are relevant. And so meaning, again, I want to say like medium term, meaning with no official start date, some sort of retracement on the overall market indices for like 3 months to a year-ish, in this overall backdrop of 3.5 to 4 years of appreciation. No need for the word correction, no need for the word recession. Don't think those are well defined mathematically or economically to begin with. But just it feels, I don't know, and again, without much conviction. But that's my prospectus, and so then that's only on the 3 year, which is the weakest conviction that I think is even relevant. Then to the short term, hey, this year versus this month versus this week, these 3 days versus this 3 months. Those type of time frames seem to be the best at having any sort of conviction for a trade. And so, again, kind of bearish for these huge appreciations still. But then overall, again, we've been doing this trade log since about October of last year. 6 months is not like for a 3-year trend, we missed the trend entirely. The trend hasn't changed yet. It's not like we're just kind of putting our positions out there. If something happens and something reverses, great, fantastic. But again, this overall middle market trying to guess price to earnings, trying to guess when things changes is effectively impossible. And I don't think it's ever going to be possible by the nature of specifically our geography and then nation states. But specific to trading, Datadog right now, again, technically this big gap, if we were to start inching back down there, but again, the appreciation doesn't feel very strong, but we wanted to close to avoid this, again, immediate appreciation, which happened. Frankly, another $100 of depreciation is effectively nothing. But for the kind of sentiment to price action, could this be a top? Again, too soon to tell. Again, trying to take you through the chronology, and so this comes back down. We spike up yesterday, and then we kind of drift downwards. So I would say this is the first day of following Datadog where it feels like this might be a reversal area. Certainly not in any way convinced, but it just wasn't this pop-up kind of channel and then kind of drift up that it's been doing for the past 10, we'll call it 10 days. Well, that's 10 years. That's a little too long. So here's a 20-day 1 hour chart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we'll say 8 to 9 trading sessions. So it felt like there was some shift there. So as you can see, we did reshort about a little less than half position. Last time we had 24 shares. Now we have 10 shares. See some green numbers on our screen. Overall, we're down around 400 over here on Datadog. But again, trying to track overall for this trading log with SanDisk, with American Eagle, these medium-term trends, this 3 weeks versus 3 years, 3 weeks versus 3 months, 3 months versus 3 years, those types of time frames. And so I did want some more exposure, so that is why you see we currently have a position open. Morning trading today, this 215 level's kind of been one that we've been lightly around. If it does go into a strong uptrend, again, I have a hard stop loss at another $100 loss currently, but again, more so playing, is this a top or a local top? Is it a global maximum, global minimum? But is this actually a top or not? Is kind of, again, the overall movement we're playing. Position sizes is what it is, always small just to be a something, or to, again, not in any way have to care about it if it goes against us. And so from the daily chart, again, it does look like this wick could be a top. We'll see how this ends up closing or progresses throughout the day, but it is 11:30 right now, and we did open a position, so I wanted to start there because that is the focus. And so it did feel like overall, because again, when we closed this position, it wasn't for the overall dollar depreciation, it was the momentum going into the close and this appreciation to the pop, where it's like, what if it pops up to 250? Or, like, what if it goes to something more substantial? But enough for us to, again, reinitiate a position, and hard stop loss still, another $100 of risk, overall trying to play, is this a top? And so if this does, which would be very rare, go in our direction, but if this breaks to the downside, I expect, again, the 200 to 210 wouldn't really add, but if it starts getting below the 200, that's when I would be looking to add, again, maybe another 10 shares up to like the 25. We had 24 before. But the 25-30 range, if it did in any way, shape, or form, we catch this kind of turnaround or relief or whatever would cause depreciation for the within the next month, or at least within a time frame that we don't get stopped out, we would expect somewhere into the gap fill, and so that's when we would take a little larger position. But that's our overall perspective. We are back in here. But back to what I was saying on just like even intraday, which is the dominant sentiment of any one ticker or of the overall market. If this were to make a move down, if this goes from like 212 to 210, I would probably put the stop loss immediately at my entry price. The reason I don't do that immediately is because, again, you have to play the natural fluctuations of any security. But since I just opened up this position, we have green numbers on the screen. If it were to go above our entry price, why not just get stopped out? I'm sitting right here and re-enter. And so, but it has to be like a noticeable move, not just within the, because whenever you enter a position, by nature of you entering it, you're going to be in that immediate channel. You might be buying directly into extreme momentum. That's a little different. But effectively, the price you pay is the price everyone else is. Like, that's the sentiment you're at right there. And so you have to kind of like wait for a move to make any sort of meaningful repositioning. And so if we break down to the 212 to 210 even, again, not big dollars in any way, but just open the position today. If we get stopped out and it goes up, hey, we can re-enter or reassess. And so that's our thoughts right now. Did take a little nibble back over to Jemmy. Like we said, this was a good call on selling this one on this day around 640. So we recuperated $100. Again, another one where we're down overall. Mental accounting, keeping that in mind. But each time we exit and enter a trade, it's a whole new thing. Just happens to be the same underlying. And so up a big old $1.25 here. But again, I 100% see another appreciative momentum excitement cycle throughout crypto. Again, the currency discussion in general is just absent. The financial acumen of people discussing finance and business and economy, and it's just like no understanding of currency at all. And so I do think Jemmy will get a little pop, super small position, re-entered, worth pointing out. And so Overall, again, let's see what SanDisk is at for the overall memory. Checking in, some strength today, but again, are we in another channel? I'm thinking we're in another channel. I might take a small long position, no position here, no real conviction here, but the news cycle seems strong enough, the business cycle seems strong enough. I won't be, again, if I'm trying to trade one thing, Datadog and software to me has way less conviction. But I don't know. I didn't no real conviction. Certainly not taking a position. I've called like the short-term reliefs when I thought, which have been pretty good. But to the actual memory trade, again, to me this just looks like it's doing the same exact thing that it did from the 500 to 700 range, where just solid move up, and then if we start channeling again, the stronger, if it trades from this 1300 to 1600 over the next month or two strong, and it starts inching back up, that's when we would consider a small position to the long side. But again, all things changes. Just if you follow the markets, you just want to get to a maturity level where you can intuitively react in a way that's meaningful. Because literally by the time I click to one different security or change something, again, the sentiment, momentum, relationship specific to stock trading is just so apparent and prevalent immediately. But time changes quickly. And so we had some good talking points today on taxes specifically. And so Jeff Bezos, one of our great supreme leaders, says no one making less than $75,000 should pay an income tax. So to the general sentiment, I totally agree. Something I've articulated. Again, my property, my research gets spread amongst everywhere. Everyone acts like I don't exist. I don't know who gets what when. But recently, and this, to me, you don't have any, what is represented as taxable income. You have no taxable income obligation if you cannot sustain your own life. Like to me, that is just that's like no brainer. I don't know how anybody could push back on that, because what is paying taxes? Okay, I'm going to pay for social services. So that's like saying, hey, I'm going to go to the store and get eggs. I'm going to drive there and come right back. Now I'm going to go to the store, get eggs, and I'm going to hand it off to Billy, and Billy's going to hand it off to Susie, and Susie's going to hand it off to Sally, and Sally's going to hand it off to Johnny. He's going to give it right back to me. I just hope the eggs could break at any one of those handoffs, but I'm gonna get social benefit. I should pay taxes, right? That's the sentiment of income tax or any tax, right? The social obligation of contributing to your society or sustaining your own life. You should have no obligation to hand off your money to anybody else if you cannot sustain your own quality of life. And you should have the same type of leeway that business expenditure has. Oh, yep, the C-suite's going out for lunch. Well, they're going to Cameron Mitchell. We're going to get $400 steaks. That's a business expense, business meeting, which is fine. But then that person making $75,000, they should be able to write off quote-unquote business expenses. And so point being is I see this overall prevalent, disgusting sentiment of me, and if that person gets in front of me, that's a bad thing. All fraud's illegal. I mean, that goes without saying. That's always bad, always. But you should have no tax obligation, or certainly what's represented right now as income tax. You should have no income tax obligation if you cannot comfortably sustain a meaningful quality of life, period. And so that is, again, I'm assuming what Bezos is articulating is around $75,000. But again, people have a desire to contribute to their community. People have no desire to contribute to inefficiency. And if the inefficiency is, hey, take dollars directly from me and piss it away through administration and piss it away through bureaucracy, everyone, no. It's just like, no. And the whole time, any type of fraud is directly and immediately illegal. And so that is to me a no-brainer, directly apparent. And so then we also have this other kind of tax talking point of this IRS settlement between Trump and I guess the IRS specifically. So I don't know the whole background, but we have the part of the conversation that I heard and reacting to is James Clayton, the Attorney General, South Carolina, was on CNBC this morning. Again, I turn on my phone. I'm in bed. I didn't sleep well because I don't have constitutional rights. And the amount of fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy that is directly being perpetrated in violation of the RICO statute is profound, directly by the government. But nobody gives a shit because nobody has values. and I just, trying to wake up and be productive, and I just hear this screeching noise called Joe Kernan coming out of my phone. Because I turn on the Trader TV on my Thinkorswim app on when I'm in bed. And so I'm not joking. I do not eat properly. I do not sleep properly. That's not like in an emotional way. It's just my analytical output is so mechanical. And when that gets disrupted, it just directly disrupts your biological functions, which has been my whole life. And so I'm hearing Joe Kernan just screeching immediately, those people, again in reference to the Democrats. Again, I just criticize this overall behavior where it's like they don't have the capacity to think. It's not even like they want to be this way or try to be this way. You can't, I don't know, immediate thought that comes to mind is like kind of a weird example, but like Native American cultures that like have elongated their skulls, right? They have to like train. They physically like put rubber bands or some sort of thing to like, it's like a training process, a physical training process to like elongate your skull or to wear a corset really thin. You can see that stuff in history, but it's thinking is the same way, right? It's not to corsets and skull elongations are extremes. Theme extreme. We just went over that. That's a pretty good one. But not to that extreme, but thinking is the same way. You have to it's a physical training. And so it's just people default to this 14-year-old kids, me versus them. And it's just the whole baby boomer generation. I don't say that with any sort of specific dislike towards the generation. I existed in a generation where they're not one person could think critically in any meaningful way. Again, how many people do I know personally with law degrees and medical degrees that I watched them have the most visceral reaction and rejection of just like, hey, the sky's blue. Hey, rhythm is real. Hey, everybody in the labor market just running around clamoring over each other, and you're not actually doing anything. And it's just like, I can see it, but I can't behave that way. I have to do what society is asking of me. And it's just this like remnant from the Industrial Revolution of people just clamoring over each other with the psychology of competition, right? Sexual antagonism, right? I want to be special. I want to be different. I want to attract the mate. I want to be the world-class surgeon. I want to be the world-renowned lawyer. And it's just like, that's just, language is literal. Life isn't that complicated. That's just not how anything works. But that is the world you live in. And so Joe Kernan just woke me out of my not slumber with just screeching 14-year-old kids talking. And so immediately, again, all fraud is illegal. The overall statute law, besides my situation currently, is overall what it's going to be and is fine. But the points that I wanted to talk about was just the Trump IRS settlement, I guess, is a $1.8 billion. Some people are calling it a slush fund. Again, I'm not trying to put any politics into this whatsoever because I have a couple points to make. And you guys, 14-year-olds that default, you hit one buzzword and you just like, but some people are calling it a slush fund. But the articulation that I read, I think this was on Politico. Again, I don't know if that even has a bias that's acknowledged publicly or whatever. But if you're reading Fox News or if you're reading CNN News and you have a reading level above like 4th grade, any sort of bias is just hilariously apparent. And again, the overall facts of any case are reported on fine by any news outlet. And so it's just like, I don't know, the whole red team versus blue team is just children bitching about nothing. But a $1.8 billion fund, and the articulated reason is, hey, has the IRS been weaponized for going against Trump specifically? And again, any feeling of weaponization or I'm going to use the law and kind of this like, up, you stepped over the line, now I'm going to throw the whole book at you. In some cases, like I get that, but that's for like, I want to say criminal statute where it's like you're immediately, I want to take that back immediately. I just feel like anytime, we'll use the case of the Peralta case we just covered. It's like a couple of the guys, again, that going like when the sergeant's trying to run point and a couple guys are trying to go in front of him. He's like, no, let me get ahead with the rifle. There's a very clear, it's like, okay, the boys are rolling out. I'm going to go. I don't like any sort of emotion in that. Any unit has no emotion. We're just going to execute what we're going to execute. And I don't like there's another scene where there's like a fat guy in the back, like, oh, I don't know what to do. And there's another scene with a guy in the front, like, oh, let me in front, like I'm the dog, let me get out. It's just like none of that behavior I'm a fan of. None, zero. And that's in the heat of a moment of a criminal call with, assault, violence, battery, which is like the most legitimate or understandable situation. Your emotions are raw, you're in the heat of the moment. Swearing, it's like, no, I'm still not a fan of it, but it's definitely not like a problem in executing your duty. And so the weaponization of law just in general. So this I wanted to make some reference to a criminal statute where it's like people getting excited, but like any sort of using that same, like that's the criminal element. That type of situation is like when if any case is appropriate, that's kind of like when it's appropriate. But to see like, hey, I am a Democrat and I don't like Trump, and I can use any reason just to go after, do this extremely. Any weaponization of law, I'm directly against immediately. Trump is the topic of conversation, but that's just in general. And I have an extreme, like, again, swatting is another situation we've talked about where it's just like any abuse of the law enforcement is this social responsibility amongst everybody at every point. Any abuse of that, to me, is weaponization of law. Swatting should have extreme penalties, but any weaponization of law should have extreme penalties. And then any sort of abuse of the legal system. But then again, it immediately presents this, okay, well, what is a legitimate case? Or like, to use an example, like GNC, the company GNC, marketing in general. These claims that where somebody's selling a product that it has no detriment. Most things are biologically neutral. It doesn't really matter if you have 7 glasses of water a day or 6.5. It's like, did you put some sort of liquid in your body? I mean, to an extreme level, you get what I'm saying. And so there's a lot of products that are sold that there are no detriment to society, but the actual marketing claims aren't scientifically valid. And so that, to me, that's fraud. And it's like, that's not good. But am I going to prioritize that in prosecution? No. Am I a fan of that as an entrepreneur? Like, hey, man, you're really selling some good product. No. As a consumer, as somebody that's been in the gym and, used a lot of these different, certainly proteins and creatines, to me, those were the two supplements that had value. BCAAs as well, branched chain amino acids. But like neurotropics, that was just like that to me is nothing. It's always been a nothing. But then you can get on Narivo and it's like some old guy playing golf and it's like, yeah, man, I have sharper thoughts. And it's like, this claim was assessed by the FDA. And it's just like, what the fuck? Like, is there some sort of detriment where I think this person should go to jail? Absolutely not. Is this some sort of product that's providing net benefit? Scientifically, no. Does it really matter? I don't think so. If you're articulating what you're selling correctly, again, it is the job of the consumer to be educated. And so any weaponization of law to me is terrible. But then again, you have statutes on the thing where it's like marketing or jaywalking, where it's like, what is the purpose of having laws for jaywalking? Right? Should somebody abuse of law to me would be if I'm a bar owner for whatever reason, because I was, and then I just put up a camera, and anytime somebody jaywalks, it's like, oh, right, he walked off the sidewalk, that caused me damages. Because then when you articulate a lawsuit, you have to say they broke the law and here are my damages. And so any sort of this, like, again, I think I covered it or I skipped over it, but there was a lawsuit against The Rip, like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's movie. To me, that was just immediate. I think I covered that. But to me, you immediately get into those situations where it's like, the law's broken, and it's, to me, just immediately feels like complete abuse of the law. But then at the same time, it's like, well, what if they're actually facing real damages? So how do you toe that line of this is clearly abuse or weaponization or law abusing the law? We have to have it on the books. And then you can go file a lawsuit, and they say they violated this law. What are your damages? You just jack up some random number. That part, I'm always it's just like, right, the purpose of jaywalking. Okay, so now let's say somebody's walking, they're jaywalking, and they get hit and killed, right? And now they have it on camera. The jaywalking law is not really for the bar owner to say, look, he scuffed the cement 2 inches off the path. Give me 14 cents, right? And so it's just like this overall societal responsibility of the citizens not filing lawsuits unless they're substantially damaged, the compensations being meaningful if they are. It's just this overall social awareness of, hey, law enforcement is everybody's liability, everybody's responsibility. And so any weaponization of law in any way, shape, or form that presents is atrocious and unacceptable. Has Trump demonstrated behavior where he has any respect for the law? No, zero. None, zero. Just absolutely fucking zero. And then we're back into this overall social, psychological phenomenon of people just agreeing with their group. Certainly tremendously present, but even with that, the application of law is each individual instance. Even if this happens, does Trump still have rights? Absolutely. Does anybody still have rights? Absolutely. Do I still have rights? Absolutely not. Actually, that's the one exception. We can all agree Brad does not get rights. But in general, you forget past transgressions, past violations. Each case has to be a different independent violation. And regardless of how many violations you have in the past, if you, again, commit some sort of violent crime, you still have rights when you get taken into custody. And you should. Again, so into the criminal element, I'm not going to try to blend too many topics right here, mostly economics here. But again, to me, for this mass shooting phenomenon, you should have no expectation that you're going to be treated. Justice is justice. Equality is equality. You should have the expectation that you're going to be treated, your life is going to be treated with the respect that you've treated other people's lives, with the consent that you've treated other people's lives. Your punishment will be proportional to the severity of violation of another person's consent that you have clearly disregarded. So not to blend the most severe criminal cases with, again, what is this? A $1.8 billion fund to protect people from, this is what's being articulated, to protect people from the weaponization of law. And so the principle I like, the Trump, no, absolutely not. Right? And so, but it's like, again, specifically, there should be no weaponizations of law. The $1.8 billion for the victims, because then there's this articulation that the IRS cannot go after, or again, specifically old tax returns, not things going into the future. And so to me, that the reason that kind of verbiage presents would be, okay, there's some sort of evidence that this is weaponization of law, and it's just like this case is done. And again, I can't emphasize enough, you see me, I criticize Trump all of the time. I just don't know the evidence to, again, comment meaningfully on some of these aspects. But again, there is no constitution. Like, anybody aware of my research, right? Attorney General James Clayton. You guys doing math in South Carolina? You guys do law in South Carolina? Economics, linguistics, any of that shit? Anything that is at an academic institution is fraud, racketeering, and conspiracy directly in violation of RICO. Those larger statutes or more predominating statutes that they're citing about national security or military or whatever is wrong at the highest level. And so I don't know how we're, again, James Clayton, you're up there saying we prosecute all fraud and we apply that equally. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, brother, what do you see there? The right to progress science with your writings and discoveries. It is what it is. You ever say that, James? How about rhythm, vibration, energy or entropy, velocity, viscosity? Well, if you don't, James, everybody at academia does. And if you say them in the right order, that's a proof. And that proof is property. And it's so prolific and so comprehensive that it's the form and the demonstration of language to the point where people are repeating it and demonstrating it even if they don't know they're doing so. And so that was another thing specifically to this Trump situation where the verbiage, somebody says, doing it because he can. I can show you literally a video of me saying, in relation to mathematical derivation, I keep going because I can. And there was another specific thing where, again, people are picking up the context and then they use the exact same words verbatim. It's called plagiarism. That's a liability. It's illegal right now at the highest level. Nobody cares. So, James, just keep that in mind, brother. You guys are doing math and science in South Carolina, or probably not. Yeehaw, yeah. Looks like my cousin. Shit. I'm like, we can head on down to the bayou, head on over to Louisiana. It's not that close, but, you know, us southern boys, we stick together, especially like our cousins. And so James is articulating that all fraud is fraud, and that is correct, James. And you are personally perpetrating fraud with Joe Kernan, with Becky Quick, with Andrew Ross Sorkin. We went through his whole book. We exhausted Andrew's thoughts. But again, this anything else? Again, I like to cover like the general principles. There's nothing else to me. There's nothing specific about Trump. There's nothing specific not about Trump. It's just he's demonstrated zero respect for the law, zero respect for the United States Constitution. And again, I'm not a strict constitutionalist. I'm a strict do shit that makes stuff matter. Do stuff that makes sense. Common sense is common law, or common law is common sense. It's the same thing. And so you have somebody that is in extreme power, extreme position of influence that has no respect for anything, but you're surrounded by people who also have no respect for anything. And that is the broader Republican Party. That is the broader political atmosphere. If you think red and blue team matters, you're first of all not even, again, coming from the intelligence world. Again, not it's like I'm sworn in somewhere, which was hilarious. They actually had to like see if I was like some sort of like, you guys just don't get my intelligence and analysis process is literally imperceptible, and that's kind of what you would expect by definition of an anomaly. But we had to check that out too. It's like, who is feeding you? Like, nobody. Sentience is not something in any one person's head. Right? There is no difference between public and private. And the broader, again, like the directors of the CIA and the FBI and the presidents themselves, again, I wonder what the UFO stuff's going on. I wonder where that came from. And it's all really started to turn around right around 2017. It's almost like somebody demonstrated the form of all of language. And that would immediately, again, people don't get out there I'm not like beating around the bush. It's just not the content of an economics video. But like, what people that would be career CIA, FBI, Department of Energy don't even know these people in this fucking apparatus exists. Like, I mean, the need to know basis is very need to know, and it's more apparent to me as to what makes it need to know than to, again, people that are in presidents, that are CIA directors. It's not, there's no closed economy, boys and girls. But truly just not the point of this video. And so all weaponization of law is terrible. All weaponization of law, even if the person is a literal criminal, is terrible. And Trump is a convicted felon, right? But again, it's just, again, we've had, in the same breath, it's just, we've had pardoning of the January 6th riots, which again came back up and they were like, we're not going to do this, or it's like, it's not to protect those people. But again, just the overall action of Trump, it's just like, okay, now we have the guy at the helm of this fund, or is he at the head of the fund, or like, what is this managed by? But Trump's overall behavior in respect to the United States Constitution is no respect at all. And so that is worth being said. But with that being said, everybody still has rights. Even with that being said, all weaponization of law is horrendous and terrible. And so there was more conversation about leaked tax returns. And should tax returns be public? I mean, kind of a different question. I don't know. But again, any weaponization, any leaking information, again, this violation of consent, this law enforcement is everybody's responsibility. And so that's all I have. But again, I did have one other point. This is crazy work. This is absolutely crazy work. And so what was one of Donald Trump's attorney's names? Let's just have a look here. Daniel Epstein. That's crazy work. Like, I'm not even like, what in the, like, bro, let's have a whole legal team and we're going to pull off the dude that's name's Epstein. And we're just, the Epstein files are just ripping in sentiment. Crazy work. That's crazy business. But again, didn't have anything more specific to say. Again, just more emphasizing Joe Kernan is documented criminal stealing my property. Andrew Ross Sorkin's documented criminal. Becky Quick's documented criminal. James Clayton's up there saying we prosecute all fraud. Attorney General, let's go have a refresh, sit around with your legal team and read the RICO statute, and just know that lawsuit will be sitting on your desk immediately once you stop being a hypocrite. You yourself personally. When you go kiss your wife tonight, Attorney General, make sure the Constitution's right there in the background. You can just look at it. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, and ask yourself, is any institution in your great state disseminating scientific information? And even if you say no, the answer's false, right? The answer is yes. It's a physical inevitability. And I've been documenting it. I mean, that's what I'm doing. Is all of the brash phrasings I directly call out, including again Vladimir Putin in Russia. I was deadly serious. Somebody else. I was deadly serious. Like, you guys are fucking cornballs from Clown Town. Here's the law. Respect it. And so that's what I have for right now. Back over here, finishing up with Datadog. A little bit of pop up here. So we have not gotten our move down. Back above the volume weighted average price. Again, I'll probably put a hard stop just right at this 216 on the day, because again, the day sentiment is going to dominate the price action of a given security. I am trying to play right now small little entries if we were to catch some sort of reversal in this overall, specifically software, but this overall market conditions in general, as well as the tech sector in general. But very low conviction. Like, again, it just, the entries and exits of when you have high conviction, again, everyone's trying to make money, right? Everyone's sitting here like clicking buttons. The amount of people that are actually clicking the buttons, I think, is rather small. And so I don't know. That's what I have for right now, finishing up at 12 p.m. on the dot. And so we will check in later. Thursday, May 21st, 4:06 p.m. What's up, everybody? Did not watch much, if any, of the afternoon discussion, and so just a little bit of technical commentary, and then we'll probably wrap up this episode. And so over at Datadog, we did, when I finished up, right when we finished talking, it was popping above the volume weighted average price, which is my biggest indicator, if I want to say that. But again, just some sort of exponential or adaptive moving average, volume weighted average price. So when we were talking, we were saying maybe it's on a top. Definitely turned around, did not look so. And so we had a super tight stop loss. You can see we lost $18. But again, just having a small position, small exposure. If this would have been a blow off top, I wouldn't even use that verbiage, blow off, certainly not, but enough price action of an appreciation and depreciation where this, hey, after we closed out at the 215, maybe this was a turnaround level. And so definitely turned out not to be, at least not for the immediate short term. And so closed with strength. The rest of the market pretty much closed with strength. Strength, again, mainly meaning the S&P 500. So we stopped out of here pretty much. I bought on the bid to cover just right after it broke off this morning. High makes this little high for the morning, comes back down here. Once it broke through here, just manually bought on the bid and closed out. So minus $18, did not turn around. No real conviction on anything else. And so memory definitely showed strength into the close. SanDisk, as we can see, is looking like it's ready to rip again. And so again, if we're trying to take day trades, like I said, I'm trying to trade more of these overall movements, not taking positions. Because again, if you enter and exit and make 10 or lose $20, $20, it's just like, it doesn't feel like you're actually trying to, in my position, try to like do something useful when I'm trying to capture more of these medium term moves. And so if I was actually trading to try to make money, which I can't because of crime, I would be playing. It would just be a risk tolerance, but there's just no commentary. You enter position, you have some sort of stop loss. We put some commentary to stuff where there's nuance or different types of consideration. But if it's just, hey, entered a position, lost, like, what is there to say? And so more of a fan of the economics, and we don't have a risk tolerance where we can trade and, talk about just like trading throughout the day. Hey, make some money on the morning trade, enter something in the afternoon, and we would be trying different types of approaches. But again, it is what it is. You can prove it is what it is the form of all language, and nobody will give you any of your money, so that seems fair. But that's the American way of life. Lie, cheat, and steal. Get where you want to go in life and just slam the door shut for the next guy and say, ha, I'm a huge bitch. But definitely having huge strength over at SanDisk, so I would expect this to pop. If I feel like this is a good trade in the morning, maybe take a little long position, because I would like to get into a position that's more appreciative, and we definitely still seeing strength over here. And so, again, no real, even more general talking points of just trading, no economics points. Did not watch the discussion. I'm sure it was NVIDIA. They reported yesterday. I don't think it moved much. Let's see where it ended up. So we ended up kind of down over here. Again, I have no opinion. Not going to try to throw anything in here. Jemmy, we again, like we said, we took a little position here, and that ended up $9, $10. And so trying to trade this as best we can. But I think this is going to be just a fun little, I think this will have some good appreciation, as we said this morning. And so the DFTX and the ATAI showed a little bit of strength today. I'm not sure if there was I don't think there was anything sector specific. But again, I just think the overall to participate, and I don't think anything substantial. But overall, just again, trading with the market, I believe. Yeah, so it seems about the same type of strength. And so that's what we got for today in terms of the overall trading talking points. I thought the tax discussion was kind of good in the previous clip. And so nothing else really comes to mind for that, so I'm going to wrap it up today, not drag it out any longer. Finishing up at 410 on just 4/11, May 21st, and we will see you on the next one.